Hi, everybody. Welcome to Man Cave Mondays. I am Sideshow Bobby, and today we are going to talk about anything and everything we are playing, watching, and listening to today. So right now, today, we have Andrew joining us today.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, Andrew. We'll have some of the other guys joining us today as well. So let's just hop right into it. Andrew, what are some of the stuff you're playing or looking into right now?
Okay, so I got two things.
Okay.
This is actually pretty old in the world of like when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my family's here and they're kind of making noise. Hopefully it's not making too much noise.
That's all what family's for, so all good.
Yeah, right. Okay, so as of March 10th, which is known as Mario Day, Mario, right?
Right.
There was a sale that happened for a bunch of Mario-based games, and it wasn't just digital, but it was physical games as well.
Are you a big physical collector still?
Yes, I am still like I enjoy like having digital because I understand the convenience of it.
Mm-hmm.
But still to the heart, like I think maybe Daniel, but for sure me, like we get and understand owning physical games because that's like what we had growing up.
Right.
Like I've got a wall of NES games and Super Nintendo games and Nintendo 64 games. Like, you know, I've got all of those still in my man cave. But I picked up Super Mario Maker 2.
Whoa.
Which is actually a ton of fun. I was like hesitant about getting it because I own Super Mario Maker 1.
Yeah.
On the Wii U. And so I was like, really, like, should I get the second one? But it is crazy how much more you can do in this game compared to the first one. I mean, they add like slopes, they add a ton of different enemies, and you know, like they actually have a career, or not career, but you know, story mode that you go through, which the first one doesn't have.
Yeah.
At least to my memory, the first one doesn't have. Maybe it does, and I don't remember. But it's great, man. This is a fantastic game. And during the time of March 10th, it was on sale for like $39 compared to the $60 that it goes for. And
the physical copy.
Well, physical and digital. You could get either one for the same price. And so I was really excited at the fact that like a lot of times Nintendo games, if they're going to go on sale, they're going to go on sale digitally.
Okay.
But they honored the physical price as well, which was awesome. And so I was really excited to see like, okay, there is a physical game that I want to get. And it was actually kind of the highlight of my vacation that I just spent with my family up in Duluth, Minnesota. If you don't know, I live in Minnesota. We spent 3 days in Duluth, and we brought the Switch with, and we had it plugged into the TV there. And my boys made like 6 or 7 different levels for me to play. I was playing story mode levels, and then I was also playing a bunch of levels that someone that I'm in a band with. We're in a video game cover band. We're called Duo Barrel Roll.
Like from
Star Fox.
Star Fox.
Yes. Yeah. And we actually put out an album, little shameless plug. We put out an album about a year ago. He makes levels, and he doesn't just make levels, but like he makes complete worlds. So he has like World 1, World 1, 2, World 1, 3, World 1, 4, World 1, 5, you know, and then he goes on to World 2, World 3, World 4, and he's like on the process of making an entire like video game
in Mario Maker.
Which is super cool. And so I haven't gotten through more than like maybe 5 of his levels yet, but it's been fun to play the levels that he's made. And what's also really fun about Mario Maker is there is a world record of like who can speed run the level the fastest.
From the level you make, the ones that you make.
Well, yeah, the ones that whoever makes.
Okay.
And so I've been beating all of the world records of the levels that he made. And that's been like really, really fun. And that kind of takes me back to like, honestly, the Nintendo 64 days, where a lot of the games, like a major part of the content was getting the highest score. You know, one of the big things I can remember is 1080 snowboarding. And I played that game so much. I remember we borrowed it from a friend. We borrowed his Nintendo 64, and the game that I played the most was 1080 snowboarding. And I would play that game so much, and I would get a super high score. And I remember him telling me, like, I can't beat your high score because you like have played this so much. And so it was really, really fun to see, like, okay, this is actually like, there is something about a high score that like goes back to the arcade days where like the simplicity of the game, it's not super complicated, but it is hard to like get a higher score. And so it's been fun to like beat these world records and kind of take me back to those days of like, you know, getting the fastest time or the highest score or whatever, and being able to to do that sort of stuff again. So yeah, this has been a super fun game, and you've just pulled up 1080, which that game is, I don't know if a lot of people have a lot of memories about this game, but this game was huge in my family. 1080 snowboarding on the Nintendo 64 was just, that was a massive game to play. It was so fun. There was so much competition. There was so much like trying to even beat the computer, because the computer was actually really good. And so that game was phenomenal. And there was a 1080 that came out on the GameCube as well, and I have played a little bit of it, and it is still kind of in the same vein, but man, the original 1080 on Nintendo 64, like, honestly, nothing other than like SSX Tricky can beat it in my mind.
That is, I've never played this game. I mean, compared to you and Dan, I mean, I had an N64 growing up, but I never played as many. And I wasn't big into the sports games. I mean, I liked the Mario games, the Zelda games.
Yeah.
But
this game was, for some reason, just a huge hook for us. I remember even my older sister, she was not into video games. She didn't like them at all. But I remember going to Best Buy. Now, most of the people here probably don't know Minnesota, but we lived in Brainerd, Minnesota, which is like a small town that like didn't have a Best Buy. But when we took trips to a city called St. Cloud, which was like an hour away, they had a Best Buy. And one of the things that we would do is stop by the Best Buy, and we would like play whatever games were there. Like back when you could actually play video games at Best Buy and, you know, Walmart or Target, like they had actual kiosks before COVID and all of that. And man, we would spend hours just hanging out at Best Buy playing the demo for 1080. And my sister, who did not play video games, was all about it.
Is she an older sister or younger?
Older sister. So Daniel is the oldest of all of us.
Okay.
And then it's Valerie, who is my older sister, and then it's me. And so it's a very vivid memory that I have of like her being as excited as I was to get to Best Buy, to be able to play the demo of 1080 on the kiosk there. Like, she was as excited as I was, which was like a very rare occurrence. And so this game brought like our whole family together.
There was another game you mentioned that your sister got. You got your what was on a previous podcast,
which we're gonna get to that.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So let me turn that up. Are we
already going there?
Let's go there. I mean, I would rather. So what is Pokemon Snap for people who don't know what
Snap
it is?
Was like a, mid-90s Nintendo 64 game. Maybe you can pull up a video clip of it.
Oh, I'll find it. I got the new one ready to go.
Well, so pull up the old one first.
Okay, so give me a second while I find that.
It was a Nintendo 64 game, and like the concept of it, when I explain it, sounds like the most boring game in the world because all you're doing is taking pictures of Pokemon. Literally, if you want to break it down to the most minimum of what that game is, you're taking pictures of Pokemon, which is why I understand why Daniel still doesn't get it. Because I think he had already been out of the house when this game came out.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't really get the craze. But Pokemon came out. It was like this huge sensation in the 90s. And there was like this strange sense of like discovery where there are Pokemon and you're taking pictures of them. And then you can unlock new levels and unlock new paths and unlock new Pokemon by throwing apples or throwing Pokeballs or taking pictures at a certain spot. Like different things that you did unlocked different paths that unlock different levels, that unlock different Pokemon and all of that stuff, right? And like, you would take a picture of a Pokemon and say you had like 5 pictures of Pikachu. Well, you can only choose 1 picture per Pokemon.
Okay.
So say you got 5 pictures of a Pikachu, you've got to choose what is the best picture. And then Professor Oak is going to grade your picture based upon certain criteria that is based into,
right,
the algorithm of the game, right? So it's a really interesting game, and it literally has been 20 plus years that a Pokemon Snap game has come out. I can't hear you, Bobby. Are you trying to talk?
No, that's actually so my screen. What I'm going to do it because I got so much stuff going on. My video is slow, so I'm going to stop my.
Okay,
yeah. I'm going to stop right now because that's stopping.
You got some big latency going on.
Yeah, I'll remove it right now. So there it is, trying to be all smart and cool here, and here I am looking like a bad lip dub.
It's all right. I can hear you, and that's what matters.
You can hear me. Isn't there anything that's what matters in the end?
Yeah, your face is frozen, but
yeah, I don't mind if my face is frozen. People don't need to look at me.
No, if anyone knows anything about this past year, it's people's faces being frozen during a video call.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, this game, like for my older sister and me and my younger brother, Isaac, it was like a game that brought us together, and it was like a sense of discovery. It was a sense of like, who knows the possibilities within this game. And so, you know, it's been over 20 years that this game has come out. Like the first one.
Right.
That like in a month from now, the new one's going to come out. And it's really exciting for people who have had like a level of experience and affection for the first game. And I 100% get why Daniel thinks that it's still like stupid, because he wasn't a part of that. But the new one it looks so good. Let's just
I don't have the audio going. So Andrew, explain what's happening right here, even for people who might be listening to the podcast on their, you know, wherever they listen to podcasts. What's happening?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I have been kind of out of the Pokemon world for a good 10 years. So I don't know most of the like newer Pokemon.
But with the graphics that we're looking at right now,
the graphics, like, and we're watching a streamed version of this that is like downgraded. But if you go onto YouTube, you can watch like a more higher res version of this. Like this already by itself, just it looks so good. And anyone that I've talked to that has like had an experience with the first Pokemon Snap look at this and they're like, wow, this looks so good. It looks so fun. It is completely in the vein of the first game. So they're not like throwing everything out. But you know, they're really truly sticking to what the original game was, but just adding a new level and obviously updated graphics and all of that. And so
this takes place in the Lentil region, and I forget, it's a different Professor Oak is grading your picture. So it's the same concept. And what we're watching is there's a lot of classic Pokemon, the Venusaur, the Bulbasaurs, the Owl,
the classic
there's
stuff.
a lot of them right here. So
too. And like what you saw right there, you can adjust the picture. This is what's really interesting to me. You can adjust the pictures like contrast and brightness and like, you know, all the modern stuff that you can do with like video editing today. Or I'm sorry, picture editing today.
Like you do right on your phone, putting on Instagram, adding stickers, cropping.
You can add all filters. Those things. You can add filters. You can, you know, adjust the brightness, the contrast. Like they're totally modernizing what Pokemon Snap is. And it's honestly like, I hope that this becomes like just a huge game that everyone loves. But part of me just thinks that this is like, you know, it's not as huge as Mario. It's not as huge as Zelda. It's not as huge as, I mean, even Metroid or anything like that. But like, I'm hoping that this just gets picked up as like everyone loves this thing. And it is just, it's huge, you know, and I'm hoping that they create DLC for it and they like fully, you know, show respect and comfort and, you know, whatever support for that game, because it just looks so good. It looks like everything that in the 90s, what I loved about Pokemon Snap, they're taking that and then they're just adding so much to it. And so I'm beyond thrilled. Day one purchase for me. This will be bought. It's gonna happen. I'm really, really excited. So
I think this my gosh, what's the other game that Dan bought for Haley? That everyone bought COVID, Animal Crossing. I think it's the next Animal Crossing type game. It's a very not very intense game, but very low key, relaxing, and you can play it and there's like low stakes and it's just fun to play. And I think if you can get a lot of those players into it, you're going to, and people who love taking pictures, they're going to love that.
Well, and there's so many people that own the Switch. Like, I talk to a lot of friends of mine that are like Wii U owners and like were fully invested in the Wii U, which I was one of them. And I have multiple friends that were. And we're just like, why did they not make a Pokemon Snap on the Wii U? Because the Wii U, if people don't know, you have a gamepad, which, okay, say like this is my gamepad, right? This is my phone, obviously, but
people can't see you who are listening. So you have a gamepad that you can hold in your hand.
Well, I can see me, so maybe.
But no. But people who listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, you gotta describe.
I'm holding my phone, but I'm pretending that it's my gamepad, right? Mm-hmm. And it has all of the buttons of 2 analog sticks, A, B, X, Y, and a D-pad, LR, LZ, LR, or whatever, and the Wii U is a really interesting system because it also had a screen on it that was completely separate from the actual system. So the system plugged into the TV, and then you had this separate gamepad that had a screen on it with all these buttons. And so it just made 100% sense to like make a Pokemon Snap game on the Wii U, because if I wanted to take a picture, I could go like this, I could go like this, with the gyro remote controls and be able to take a picture. Well, the Switch is different, where the Switch is, okay, I'm going to dock it, and that is now connected to the TV, or I'm going to remove it and I'm going to play it portably. And you got that option, or you have this option, where the Wii U was all about like, I have the ability to play it on my TV, or I have the ability to play it on my screen, separate screen, and do my thing. And so it just made sense to like have Pokemon Snap on the Wii U, and it never happened. But that doesn't mean that we're not beyond thrilled that Pokemon Snap is coming to the Switch, which Alberto just came. And Alberto, what do you think about Pokemon Snap?
I am very excited. I think it was one of the first N64 games I played.
Growing up, really?
One of the first, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was an addicting game because it came during a time when YouTube wasn't around, so you couldn't Google stuff.
Yeah.
If you wanted to figure stuff out, it's either schoolyard conversations or it was strategy guides. I had neither. I had neither at the moment. So it was all just about just testing, just trial and error every single time. I'm like, okay, well, last time I threw an apple. What if I throw one in like the gas Pokeballs this time? What if I try to knock this person to here this time?
Yeah.
And it's just, you just keep doing it over and over. And as a kid, that kind of stuff figuring out it's super addicting, crazy addicting. But yeah, I'm super excited for it. I'm really looking forward to it for sure.
Alberto, what have you been reading, playing, watching that has just grabbed your attention lately?
Playing, I finally have been finding time to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, like actually give it time.
Okay.
I played the demo last year, and then I played maybe like the first hour or something. That's it. But with so many other games last year, I didn't really get around to it. I didn't give it the time of day. Finally, during I think maybe like a couple weeks ago, just something in me was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Let me see what it's all about. I haven't stopped playing it. Anytime I have free time just to play some single player game, that's the game I've been playing. It's super grabbed my attention.
Cool. Did you get it because it was the free game for PS Plus?
No. I got it for Christmas.
Okay.
So I got it as a Christmas gift from the lady, but I know a lot of people got it for free And
yeah, it just became the free PlayStation Plus game, I think, for March.
Yes.
Wow,
which is a big game.
Huge
it's
game.
Huge game to have for like free if you have PlayStation Plus.
And what's crazy then? It's like PlayStation.
I'm going to be showing it up.
Go ahead.
No, I'm going to actually showing up on the screen right now while we're talking. So what is different? Because I played the original Final Fantasy VII. I'm probably going to buy the port of it for my iPhone. I'm going to break down and play it again. But what's the difference between what we're seeing, what we played on the original PlayStation, which we can now play on PS Plus and the PS4 and PS5? What are some of the major differences?
Before you say that, Alberto, I've heard, like, I haven't never played the original, and I've heard that the remake is different enough where it's like, it's enough of like a twist for veterans to be like thankful for it. So like in you responding to that, just try to not like spoil anything.
Sure. So full transparency as well. I think I mentioned it in a previous podcast episode, but there was one time they were doing a like a PS1 digital sale on the PlayStation Store, and Final Fantasy VII was on sale for the PS3 for like $2, and I was like, you know what, let me try it out. So I bought it, and I tried it out. I didn't like it. I waited another year. I tried it again out, the original game. I couldn't get behind it, and I think a huge problem was because I was playing it during a time when modern gaming has really just taken me over, especially with modern RPG stuff, real-time event stuff, more quality of life things. And to go back and play such an important game, yes, it's super, super important. But at the same time, a game that does feel, you feel the age of it, right from the graphics to its pacing and everything else in between. I didn't grow up with it, so I didn't have like that nostalgia magic. With all that,
you didn't have that thing where I was connected to it. It was like, oh, this is Cloud and Tifa and Barrett, and I get to play them again, and it's going to be even better. Like it's going to be like how I envisioned playing it. So
that's exactly, this game for so many people was a huge game, and I didn't have the privilege to play this game when it came out, but I heard about it. But like we were like a Nintendo family for the most part, and so we never played this game, which is surprising to me because we did eventually transition over to PlayStation 2, which plays PlayStation 1 games, and we played a ton of PlayStation 1 games, but we never played Final Fantasy. And I remember my older brother Daniel, who everyone knows, like being all about that game, that it was like a huge epic adventure. And so it was surprising to me that we never actually played it. And I still to this day have never played it. I own it on the Switch. I played like the first 20 minutes and then
the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, the original Final Fantasy VII. You can get it on the Switch now digitally,
which is awesome. I think.
Which is super cool. And so I have it on there, and I just like needed. I mean, can everyone relate to the reality of like there are so many freaking games that you want to play, and
never enough time.
How do you actually take the time to play all of them? And so. It's like there are
having a job and having kids,
right, and there are so many new games that come out that you really want to experience, and there are old games that are like reinvented that you want to experience, and it's like, how do you even deal with all of that? And so, that's kind of where I'm at. But I've heard the game is amazing. I've just never really played it.
We're watching it, and it looks beautiful.
It looks great. And like I have friends that are like diehard JRPG, like Final Fantasy turn-based combat. and they're like, I will not give the new Final Fantasy VII a chance because it is not turn-based combat. Because if people don't know, the new Final Fantasy VII traditionally is not a turn-based combat. Now, if I remember, I think you can change the settings to make it turn-based. Maybe you guys have more insight than I do about that.
I have no clue because I don't own PlayStation 4 or 5, so I have just like, oh, it's out there. I'll ask you guys when you guys play it. So
I think if I remember correctly, and please, if I'm wrong, correct me. I think they allowed an option where you can make it turn-based, but traditionally the game is not turn-based anymore. It's more of an action RPG, which if people don't know what an action RPG is, it's like turn-based is like, okay, it's my time to attack. Now it's your time to attack. Now it's my time. Now it's your time. Back and forth kind of a thing. Action RPG is more about, you know, everyone attacking all at once, and whoever wins.
Yes. So they have a mode. I've never played it. I'm playing like the new version of it, but the mode that you're referring to, they call it classic mode. While it's not 100% like the traditional turn-based, you know, you go, he goes, she goes. It's more of a much more simpler, almost real-time strategy kind of version of turn-based. So it's still kind of turn-based-y, but the enemies can still attack kind of like out of order and out of pace to kind of give you that suspense of it being real-time action, but still giving you the layout and giving you the time and space to map out and plan out almost like it is still turn-based. So it's almost like a faux kind of turn-based thing. But regardless, though, this game for sure was made with the intention to be played as modern JRPGs.
Totally.
You can just 100% tell every fight. There's like a big room, and it always feels like you're about to do like some schoolyard like brawl, because it's always normally like in a circle or something, and it's really awesome to fight.
Why did someone just say Andrew's my favorite human?
So
whoever said that, you are my favorite human. Sorry.
Random Facebook user. So we'll have to go on and see who said that. And then while we were talking, Dan got back from his vacation, said he finally landed in Chicago, and he was playing Pokemon Shield on the flight back.
And he was Pokemon Shield.
Daniel has been pulling all the surprises lately.
Guys, there are so many surprises in the past year and a half.
Okay.
And one of the huge things was that Daniel, my older brother, got a Nintendo Switch. That was revolutionary in my mind, because he has been the Xbox guy for years. And if anyone knows who he is, like, he is the Xbox guy, and I'm the Nintendo guy. And so for him to get a Nintendo Switch, it was like, wait, what? Like,
and he also bought one for his wife. And he bought one for Haley too.
Nintendo Switch Lite for his wife to be able to play Animal Crossing.
Right.
And so, like, it's just crazy to see. Like, I understand this. I fully agree and understand that, like, Nintendo is not the most strongest hardware or the most, like, you know, fierce gaming system out there, but like, you cannot deny the franchises that they have and the ability to be able to, like, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 days ago that I was like, man, the Nintendo Switch is the first system that literally you can take a home console game and with ease, no internet connection needed, take it with you wherever you want to go, which is the reason, I think the biggest reason why the Nintendo Switch has been as successful as it has been. Like, the Nintendo Switch is what the Wii U was kind of trying to be. And so it's just crazy that, like, Daniel owns a Nintendo Switch and he's like all about having Skyrim on the go. He's all about having, like, you know, all of these different games that, like, is really surprising to me because he is like the Xbox guy. But I think he's getting to understand the value of, like, how easy it is to be portable, which, you know, honestly is probably not going to be the future of, like, everything's going to be portable. Everything is going to be like, take this wherever you want to go. I fully agree with that. I fully get that. But, like, we're not there yet.
But Nintendo, but the Switch has gotten really close.
Yeah,
I would love it. I mean, if I suddenly got a Switch in my hand, I would totally ignore everything else in my life, unfortunately, which is why I don't get a Switch.
Yeah, the Switch has gotten the closest that you can get, which I don't even know if closest is the right word because it's there. It is portable console gaming. Like, you can play console games on the go with the Switch. And sure, you're playing 720p instead of 1080p, whatever. Like, that all is going to be upgraded more and more as we go. But, like, the Nintendo Switch is a pinnacle shift in, like, you know, everything before that. It was like you had your console games and you had your portable games. That's how Nintendo did things. It was, okay, you've got the Super Nintendo and you got the Game Boy. You've got the Nintendo 64, you got the Game Boy Color. You've got the GameCube, you got the Game Boy Advance. Like, that was how gaming was, right? But then the Nintendo Switch, like, just merged all of that together and was like, you want to play this AAA game on your TV? Cool, do that. You want to play it on the go? Cool, do that. And, like, I'm sure in 15, 20 years from now, we're probably going to look back at the Switch and be like, hey, remember when we thought that was, like, super cool and amazing? Because technology is going to be so advanced from there. But, like, we are in a major shift in, like, how video games are going to, like, adapt and change. And, like, I feel like the Switch will still be, you know, 15, 20, 30 years from now, a retro game system because of what it has been able to do in the world of, like, portability and home console gaming.
It's there. So, but just kind of also, just to pivot a little bit, we had a comment asking us, when are we going to get to talking about the Snyder Cut and Falcon and the Winter Soldier? And I believe this might be your boy Josh, Andrew, because he was the one, he says, the one. Yeah, so that was your boy Josh. So we're going to actually talk about the Snyder Cut in our next episode when we can get all the cavemen on talking about Snyder Cut.
I still need to watch it myself.
Yeah, we all actually started the podcast because of the Snyder Cut. And I don't think it would be fair just having three out of the six of us talking about the Snyder Cut.
Wait, explain why the whole podcast started because of the Snyder Cut?
That was our first episode, talking about the Snyder Cut and the possibility of Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker, having its own Snyder Cut or whatever. So that was our first episode. So
that was way before me becoming a part of this.
Right. You joined with the video game portion, but I don't think it wouldn't be fair to talk about the Snyder Cut. I enjoyed it, but I don't think a casual moviegoer would enjoy the Snyder Cut. As my quick
explain that more. Why would a normal moviegoer not enjoy it?
It's
without giving things away.
It's a 4-hour movie event that does a deep dive into characters, which the original Joss Whedon theatrical cut out. It was very clunky, reshot very fast.
Yeah.
So this version got to HBO Max. Snyder got a little bit more money, and he was able to give the characters Cyborg, Flash, a little bit more depth to the movie instead of just being there. It gave everything a little bit more purpose, and everything that he was putting in Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, it all blends together, and you can see
sense. Yeah.
Yes. And then it also makes more sense watching the movie, how it offshoots into Aquaman too. After you're watching this movie, it makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
So, but that's just kind of a little bit of a preview about what we're about that. But in terms of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, have you guys seen that yet?
I did watch the first episode, which is the only episode available right now, right?
Right. The only episode for Falcon the Winter Soldier is the first one that just debuted.
Okay. Before we go any further, Bobby, are you able to turn your video on?
Right now, I'll try. Give me a second. I got so much going on in my computer systems right now. I'm going to have to take some stop screen.
Sorry, everybody who is watching right now.
Everyone watching, yeah. I don't have my picture showing because I have a lot of stuff going on, but let me see if I can start my cam now. We are having issues. See, it's still just me looking blankly into the screen.
Turn it off, then turn it off. That's fine.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just turn it off for right now. Maybe I'll adjust my camera. Maybe I'll change my camera thing, so maybe that will help out.
Okay.
Surface camera front? No, probably not.
Oh, Andrew, before I forget, I don't know if you guys talked about this earlier, and I should have asked him right away. Last of Us show. Thoughts, feelings.
Man.
We've been getting some updates on that.
I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research on it other than that. I'm sorry, I can't think right now. What's his name that plays the Mandalorian is going to play Joel?
Pedro Pascal.
Yes,
yep.
Pedro Pascal. Bobby, you're good. Your video is good. We see you.
I changed cameras.
Sweet. Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Dude. Okay, so I recently borrowed my PS4 to a friend of mine and said, hey, you need to at least play the first Last of Us. So he binge played through that game.
What is The Last of Us for us non-video game people?
Okay, The Last of Us is a game that came out on the PS3, and then there was a remastered game of it that came out on a PlayStation 4, and it was more revolutionary on the PS3, honestly, than the PS4. The PS4 was just like, hey, anybody who loved this game, here it is on the PS4, right? But on the PlayStation 3, it was like one of the last games that came out on the generation of PlayStation 3. And it was made by Naughty Dog, who has done Uncharted and in the past has done like Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter, which a huge departure for them is like doing Uncharted and doing The Last of Us, which is more like mature rated games, right? So The Last of Us, I don't know how to describe it other than you need to experience it. Like, there are so many zombie games out there, but like this is a game that like dives deep into the humanity of a person. It shows like storytelling. I cried going through the process and the emotions of the first game. And like There are so many stories of people saying that like they cried through the process of the first one. So that game came out like, I want to say, I'm probably going to be wrong, but like 2013, 2014, something like that.
So really adult game.
It's a very adult game
with good
really
storytelling,
right?
And now they're making a movie out of it.
Well, before that, we need to talk about, it's been a good 7-8 years before a game that everyone thought there's never going to be a second game that's going to come out. Like everyone thought, okay, this game ends, that's it, it's over. And Naughty Dog decided we're going to continue the story. And a lot of people, I'm not going to give anything away, but a lot of people were really pissed at the way that Naughty Dog decided to continue the story. And if you want to be a part of that crew, play the game yourself. But honestly, I don't have a problem with the decisions that they made with the second game. It's not necessarily the way that I would have chosen to continue the story, but also like realizing there is so much humanity that is brought into the second game that like a lot of people don't like. It's kind of like when you watch okay, maybe this isn't a good analogy because I've never watched Game of Thrones, but it's like, from what I've heard of fans of Game of Thrones, you watch Game of Thrones and you really fall in love with a character, and then they completely kill him off, right? And it's like you have so much investment in this character, and then they're just gone. And it's kind of like that, where you have so much investment and so much love towards a character, and it's like nobody is sacred. Nobody is able to like survive in this post-apocalyptic world, which is actual reality. That like we want in storytelling there to be someone that like is going to make it through, right?
Right.
But the reality is, in the real world, if this was happening, what would actually probably happen is what happens in the game. And so that's where it becomes like really real. And that's why I have an appreciation for it. And a lot of people can't get there with the second game. But going to where Alberto was talking about, there is now going to be a TV show that HBO is going to make based off of The Last of Us, and Pedro Pascal is going to play one of the main characters. Beyond that, I don't know a lot. Maybe you, Alberto, have more to say about it than I do.
So far, from a little bit that I did read, I don't know if the news came out earlier today, but they did say so. The show, at least season 1, I don't know if it's gonna be multiple seasons, but the show is supposed to be based off of the first game. Okay. And then second of all, some articles are now stating that there's from some interviews that they had with the writers, they are going to hit a lot of the major same beats from the first game, but they are still going to be doing major kind of like detours, or there's going to be a lot of like creative like liberties being drawn out to fit probably like a TV show format a lot better,
sure,
versus video game,
and also probably to surprise people too.
Exactly. I think they have to. And in the comment section I was reading, and some people are mad and thinking that they should keep it 100%. Other people are upset that they should change everything. And at the end of the day, after reading, I was like, no one's going to be happy with the show 100% all the way. There's going to be purists, and there's going to be those that want something new. I'm just excited to see it. Last of Us was an awesome game to play. It was an awesome game to experience. Borderline feels like you're experiencing a movie already.
Yeah,
so
it is very movie-based game.
Yeah. So to see it now in a TV show format, it's going to be on HBO. I don't know if it's going to be like a weekly episodic kind of show, but whatever the case is, I'm super excited about it. That's why I wanted to hear like Andrew's thoughts, because I know that Andrew and Christian have been huge fans of the game also as well.
Yeah, I honestly have not tried to do a lot of research because I just kind of want to, when it comes out, experience it. And I am all for being surprised that is not the same story as the video game.
Same.
Yeah. And that's where, like, to be honest, I don't know a lot of the comic book world. And I know that there's been a lot of people that have gotten really upset about where Marvel or DC has gone.
I will speak up for that. I'll make some.
Let's get to that in a second. Yeah. So, like, I don't know that world, to be honest, a lot. And so all I know is what the movies and some of the TV shows are portraying of these characters. And I'm happy about it. But I know a lot of people are pissed about it. And so that's where I'm just like, okay, I love this video game, but I'm okay if they do something different than what the video game was. And so maybe, Bobby, you can talk into...
I'll say, like, and I'm a big DC Marvel fan, and I love the movie. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I like a lot of the directions that they are taking with it. I think as long as they get the heart of the character, the bare bones of it, they can go in different directions.
Sure.
I'm fine with it. Like Civil War, like the movie Civil War, they made decisions to make it more fit the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They made decisions to make Spider-Man fit the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
But not necessarily fit the comics.
Not from the comics. No, there's stuff, again, a lot of the same elements, but there's, like, Peter Parker is more of a protege to Tony Stark in MCU. Like, there is there is a whole relationship with Tony Stark and Peter Parker, especially in Civil War, but Peter Parker was his own man, his own scientist, and people were mad because he didn't make it up. He didn't do it on his own. It's all Peter Parker in an Iron Man suit. And I think that's where people were mad. So
Spider-Man is,
right. Dan, your brother, he was upset when in Captain Marvel, the Skrulls, which are typically bad guys in the comic books, were actually, were mistreated people on the run, just trying to find a home. And Dan did not like that twist. And now they are coming up with a Secret Invasion movie storyline. So we'll see how all the next Marvel Cinematic Unit fits out. But I was still happy because we're just seeing the beginning, and it still fit the character. So I was fine with that choice, what they did. So as long as the heart and they're respecting the material, I'm totally fine if they take, they make tweaks or, whatever, So if it makes sense for the movie, if they gender swap someone because it makes better sense to the story or something more dramatic, I say go for it.
Okay. That's cool. No, to be honest, I have not been a fan for the past, 10 years or so of most Marvel movies, because I've just been like, yeah, it's another superhero movie, and we know that the main character is not going to die, and blah, 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 and all this stuff, right? But recently, me, my wife, and a couple of friends over Zoom or FaceTime, whatever, have decided, like, hey, let's watch through all the MCU movies again. And we started, trying to, as best as possible, chronological through it.
Chronological meaning how they were released, or timeline, so how they like to start with?
Trying to go more the actual timeline,
rather
than how they were made. But there's been some discrepancies of like what movies we've chosen to watch. But through all of it, and then WandaVision, we've been like really discovering how much the MCU is pulling the thread from the beginning all the way through to Endgame, and then WandaVision, and now like the new Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is kind of what we're trying to get to with this question. I watched the first episode of it, and it's like, it's funny how there were a lot of stuff that like I remembered about Endgame that has to do directly with the first episode of Winter Soldier and Falcon, and my wife didn't remember any of it, and I was like, you just need to watch Endgame again because I can't explain to you all the stuff that's going on. But what I'm trying to get to is like, I've been really impressed, honestly, at like how much they have had like this story arc of like literally, you know, I think Iron Man is the first movie.
Iron Man was the first MCU movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like from that to like where we're at now, and how much like they have made sure that like everything makes sense between all of them.
They've had to make tweaks along the way, and if you're really close to watching everything, you can see they're trying to go one direction, but then they course corrected a little bit.
Right, but like overall, they have definitely pulled the thread.
I think
really impressive.
I think that's the one thing that the DC, that Justice League, the Snyder cut, and I'm sorry we're kind of going into that, fails because it's a 4-hour, you have a lot of origin stories packed in this movie, whereas Marvel took the time, made origin stories for a lot of their characters. You've already built up that relationship with them, and then you're moving into the larger movie, caring about them, knowing their backstories and their baggage, so you can go right onto the movie, which Christian and I've talked about. Endgame itself is a good movie, but if you haven't invested yourself in all of the other movies, it's just a popcorn flick because you won't know all of the intricacies, all the heartaches of what's happening. So why someone's mad? Why is Smart Hulk so upset about Natasha Romanoff dying? You know, what's going on there? If you haven't seen, Avengers 2, Thor Ragnarok, then you don't know the backstory with that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And like, even realizing that movies like Captain America Civil War is almost an Avengers movie. Like,
it is an Avenger. The people on set were calling it Avengers 2.5.
Yeah. It really is just like, okay, they got all of these characters involved, and this really is not a Captain America movie.
It was a Captain America centric movie because they did make choices with Civil War. They did change things because it was originally a teenage super group with a camera show with a camera following them, and they accidentally blew up a school. That was the catalyst for Civil War.
That's what the comics do?
That was the comics were. So they had there's these teenage superheroes they were a live show, so they were streaming and they were making, their documentary of them being superheroes, and they got in over a head with a superhero with a villain that can blow themselves up. The villain went to a neighborhood near a school and he blew up on live TV. And that was the catalyst.
Know anything about this.
That was the comics. That was the comic versions. Okay. In the movies, they changed it to one that the Avengers were going after Bone Cutter, or I'm forgetting one of the Captain America's terrorist enemies from Captain America 2. And they were in this they were in a country, and Wanda Maximoff was trying to use her powers, killed a bunch of people. And people are like, whoa. We have to take these guys under control because you guys have been working with too many liberties. Right. And that, I think, was a good choice.
The government, control over superheroes.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think
that was all about.
Exactly. And then that was the heart of the movie. They still got the heart. They still got the factions, right? Captain America versus Crossbones. Thank you very much. Captain America and the crew were looking for Crossbones and the terrorists at the beginning of Captain America's Civil War.
Sure.
So
okay. Yeah, and if I'm honest, I'm not someone that is super deep in knowledge of the MCU, but it has been fun so far. Like, we're kind of probably halfway through rewatching all of the MCU. We just watched Age of Ultron.
Okay.
And so it was really interesting to see, like, oh wait, yeah, this is where Vision like becomes Vision.
Right. This is where he gets his body.
Yeah. And like, I didn't remember that until like rewatching it.
And I think and if you're watching WandaVision, it always suggested going back to watching Avengers 2.
Yes. Whenever you get done, like, it always says like, done watching, now watch Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron,
yeah.
Which I always thought was a weaker Avengers film because it was one of those movies, it was trying to set up the next phase and it had a lot going on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that, but rewatching it, I'm like, okay, there's a lot going on here.
A lot going on, and it's a better movie looking backwards.
Yeah, so I think it's way stronger than what people have made it out to be.
Right. I think now what it was, because they were trying to branch out stuff, but getting to where it is, I think it's a much better movie. And I've watched other people think about, well, no, why Ultron is such a bad guy. Because like, why is there a bad guy just trying to destroy? Because that's one of the MCU weaker points is they just have generic bad guys or copies of the hero who they're fighting.
Well, there are some really interesting like fan theory videos out there about Age of Ultron that I watched.
Yeah.
That are talking about like Ultron actually predicting Endgame.
Right. Right. And, I was watching the same video.
And like the things that Ultron, like, because Ultron really is a form of Tony Stark.
Right.
And
he was just trying to be proactive.
Yeah. And like thinking about the future of protecting the Earth is like starting over.
Right.
And like destroying the majority of what is here, kind of a thing. And that's like what Ultron
was trying to do. And
then
then
apart from like a human brain and a human like
heart.
Heart of like understanding like humanity, Ultron makes 100% sense. And like just thinking straight robot. And
I think looking back at that again, watching that video, I think we watched the same video, because watching that movie now, it's like, oh, it makes a lot more sense watching the movie.
Right.
So, but back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought it was a great first entry. I liked how they were kind of getting into the more mundane stuff where Falcon's trying to reconnect with his family. They're trying to get loans. They're like,
I never thought about the reality that like people who are like serving as Avengers aren't getting paid for what they're doing.
Right. I mean, and in the comics, like Tony bankrolled them, he supported them. Like what's happening now, and is he still government, and and it's really great how you're looking at Winter Soldier is suffering PTSD, because in Captain America 2 Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie and Steve Rogers, they were talking about how you can't sleep on your bed because it feels like a marshmallow, and here you have the Winter Soldier, Bucky, sleeping on the floor, having nightmares about all of his past kills, and he has a notebook just like Steve did in Captain America, crossing off, going to a therapist, and you figure out, okay, why is he now able to walk around, freely? Because he has he was given clemency and he's on parole, and he has to, and I think it was all done very tastefully and great. And it's going to be a great insight into race. And I think with everything going on, because this was filming during COVID, during all the Black Lives Matter, everything. And I think John Walker, U.S. agent, being the new Captain America, taking it from Falcon, when Falcon gave the shield away, they didn't ask him to be it. They're going to someone else. Is going to be an underlying overtone that people are going to look into this show.
So, to be honest, I don't know a lot about the new Captain America. I mean,
do you want the well, I know what's going to happen.
Comics wise, going to happen comics wise,
right?
Should we take the time right now to divulge that, or like, is it better to just leave it open and like, hey, just keep watching? Let's
keep watching for now, because we will do a we'll do a Falcon and Winter Soldier episode. So let's just move on from that.
But in the comics, there is another person that takes over Captain America.
So there's several all this stuff that they're alluding to in the comics. This guy has been Captain America. Falcon has been Captain America. Bucky has been Captain America.
Okay.
So all three of them have been Captain America in the comics. Okay. So you don't know in the end where this is going to go.
But I do know from some previews, I've seen Falcon using the shield.
Right. So there's an indication.
So it's like there's something going on.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to see what's going to happen, but who knows what the end's going to be at the 6-episode arc. And I'm really glad it's 6 solid episodes.
Yeah, they're like a little longer than WandaVision.
Right. And again, WandaVision was an experiment, and I think they did really well.
Oh, it was so good.
You know, again, it has its faults. And Christian, it was just Christian and I last week talking about it. So if anyone wants to talk about, wants to see that, we can kind of deep dive. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, our predictions, what went well, and how it was great, because even the writers knew they were trolling us. They brought us into Wanda's grief. So they did a great job. We won't dive too much into that.
Personally myself, I was very impressed with WandaVision.
Yeah. Alberto, did you like WandaVision overall?
Yeah, I think I don't know how to word it, but I think the issues that I had with the show were a lot of my own, and that's also my fault for watching stuff on YouTube or reading stuff on Twitter. And there are so many fun fan theories that they could have done. But again, that was also setting the expectations that us as fans were just setting up instead. I remember that, like, when they were first talking about, like, who is going to be the villain at the end of it, people were thinking it was going to be this big baddie. And instead
it's Mephisto.
Yes.
He was the bee.
Yes. So everyone was kind of anticipating that. I was anticipating that. There were some things for sure that I think I know Marvel says that it wasn't supposed to be a big deal. Like, for example, the whole space engineer thing, that wasn't supposed to be a big deal, they said. But at the same time, like, how can you say that when literally in the show they cut to several shots of about to text a person, about to say the name, but then getting cut up? Like, you're purposely building anticipation in your writing, in your filming, in your editing. There's no way that this wasn't supposed to be a big deal.
This was a big. Here's the thing. I love the trolling. The whole trolling about everything from Quicksilver, because it brought us in. If they couldn't give another actor that role that was going to troll, is Marvel bringing mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because us as viewers, the only reason for us to troll because Wanda knew's like, wait, you're not my brother, but you have the same powers. You're saying my brother. And the only way people were going to believe that was bringing in Peter. Well, I'm forgetting the actor's name, but bringing in Evan Peters as Quicksilver. That way the audience would be in the same disbelief, or trying to want to believe that's the real Quicksilver, like Wanda is. And that was the best troll out of everything. And I loved it. And who knows, it might pay off. They might have bigger plans for Josh Boner. He could have been Jimmy Woo's guy he was looking for. Who knows? But I think it was a great thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Let's pivot. So, Alberto, you've been reading some anime lately. What has been some anime lately you've been reading to? And I've been wanting to get your thoughts on something I've read on the internet later on. So
just to kind of let you know, so anime is like the visual media of like TV and movies, and then manga would be the books.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I didn't want to say because I'm like, oh great, here I'm about to go push up my glasses while saying this.
I know the difference. I know the difference. I swear. It was just anime was in my head.
As far as reading manga stuff, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this one author. His name is Junji Ito. He's a Japanese manga author. A very, very huge name. Dare I compare him to almost the Stephen King horror manga. He is well known across the entire spectrum, and so much to the point where like they have Junji Ito apparel and collectibles, like just sections of them. Like I went to Hot Topic. They have a whole wall and section just dedicated to this author. Like, and this author has been writing for 20 plus years. It's only as recently that he's just hit this huge peak in his career. I think a lot of it has to do with like people getting into anime now. Like 10 years ago, anime was kind of a very niche little market. There's, the Western audience wasn't like crazy into it just yet. But now, same thing as comic books, anime and manga, like that's cool. That's in. It's very. It fits an aesthetic and it fits people's like hobbies.
Yeah, it's much more of a in thing.
Yeah. So Junji Ito is an author that I was like, oh, let me check him out then and see what this is all about. I read the most popular book that everyone always talks about in every list. I finally gave it a shot. From that point on, right away, I read the entire rest of like the Big Black Book trilogy stuff. I don't even know like the full name of it, but I'm wrapping up on reading his like first big book, and I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly, but it's Tomi, and it's this awesome story where there's this you don't know the backstory too much. It's a really creepy story, but there's this girl who has some sort of aura, some sort of presence that is able to completely make boys and men of all ages just absolutely become infatuated with her. And she does that on purpose, but the obsession gets so strong to the point where these men not only just think about this girl, but now love her so much to the point that like I want to protect you so much to the point that I need to kill you now. And it becomes this crazy obsession to the point where at the very beginning, the first chapter,
this is what you're reading right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the very first chapter alone shows an entire classroom of men and even the teacher falling in love basically with this child. And on a school field trip, they push her off of a cliff, kill her, and then they chop up her body and they just throw her parts away, and all the males all come to an agreement and say, we can't tell anyone about this, can't tell anyone about this. Little did they know this girl has some sort of supernatural ability where her body regenerates almost like a snake without a head.
Like Wolverine.
Yes, and it just regenerates. But the difference is like Wolverine will grow a new limb or will patch up that hole. She will create more of herself. So like if you were to plant her in the dirt, 6 different plants of her head will start to come out, all like dismembered and stuff, and eventually will form into another human being. So it's almost just like that double-headed dragon, triple-headed dragon from Hercules, that it just kept coming back. So it's like a really cool story of like this, how love can become an obsession, and it's like body gore and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. There's another story I was reading by him, Army of One, where it talks more about like psychological propaganda. And there's this group online that keeps sending out these subliminal messages in the radio. And little by little, in large groups, people have been found dead and stitched together. So they literally stitched themselves to someone that they fell in love with, or like a close friend or something, and they die because of stitching themselves. And it feels almost like the murder mystery story of like Seven or something, where There's like where there's like a deeper theme within it. There's a deeper message, and there's a real deep motive that this whatever group that's quote unquote is called Army of One, for some weird reason, what's their motive? What's their end goal? Most importantly, in making people basically commit like a mass suicide altogether. Really cool author. So to answer your question, I've been reading tons of his stuff. Very creepy stuff, very gory stuff. But I think it's, since I love horror movies and I love anything horror related, Halloween's one of my favorite seasons. I absolutely love reading his books. And as far as shows go, I don't know if you guys know the name of the show, but there's a show called Attack on Titan. And
I know of it. I haven't seen it.
I think everyone, even if you don't watch anime, knows this name. And this name,
I know the name.
This name has been huge, and it's been growing up or like peaking, like absolutely mass hysteria, like right now. And it's on its final season. It's wrapping up. Sunday.
Where can you watch Attack on Titan? Where can you watch it?
You can watch it on Crunchyroll, and you can watch it on Funimation. Right now, I think, I can't remember if you have a PlayStation. Normally, when you sign up for a Funimation account, they give you 2 weeks for free. PlayStation did a partnership with Funimation where you will get your 2 weeks plus 3 months for free. So it's really cool. So essentially, you get I'm bad with numbers, 14 weeks for free of anime, and you get to watch. And I mean, this is a show that's currently airing, and they put it on Funimation, subtitled like within like at 30 minutes, an hour right after it finished airing. So you get to watch it pretty much live with everyone else around the world. It's a really cool thing. But the show is wrapping up, and I'm sad. There's so many cool themes in it. I wish that you guys watched it, but that's asking a lot because 4 seasons of anime is a lot. But it's a long story short, there's basically.
Are there filler episodes?
No,
like, no filler episodes.
Surprisingly, no. And that's one thing that I love. I don't like to watch old anime too much because old shonen anime, and shonen is the most popular kind of anime. It's the one that most people know about, like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach, all those big names. Those are like the real popular ones. The biggest issue I had with those is that there's filler. There's so much filler. Naruto is notorious for having.
That is very notorious.
The first 200 episodes of Naruto, which is the first run of Naruto, I was watching it growing up, and I started watching it mainly in college. After I think episode 114, all the way, and this is not like an exaggeration, all the way up until like episode 190 something.
There's probably some website that will tell you.
There's a whole website called My Anime Filler or something like that. And that website shows that more than half of Naruto isn't even canon. You can skip it. It doesn't have to do anything with the story. And I was like, this is why I don't like to revisit old shows that I watched as a kid, because I didn't know better. I just watched whatever, and that's it. Now that I'm older, and like you guys said, times are busier, time is a lot stricter.
Limited time.
I'm like, I'm gonna watch a show that's gonna be cohesive and worth the time. And if I'm gonna watch one random episode about him doing errands for 30 minutes, that better be worth my time of him doing these errands and actually.
Or him powering up to make the next hit to get to the next part of the Magna.
And that's literally Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z was like 4 episodes of, hey, let me charge up.
He's
get
level
ready.
5!
Yeah. Let me do a sad backstory flashback episode for 30 minutes, and then we'll fight next week. You come back next week, and next week happens, and nothing happens again. I'm like, this is the absolute worst.
Did you guys know that I met a voice actor for...
You meet a lot of people, Andrew. You have like all the interesting, like you meet all the cool people. But all right. So who did you meet?
So I met a voice actor that was on Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
What the heck?
Okay, so
pull that off.
Those who know Minnesota, in Minnesota there is like literally one major theme park called Valley Fair.
Is it a Six Flags?
No. It is completely separate from Six Flags, Disney, all that stuff. But it is like, it's kind of like a mini Six Flags, but it's definitely like enough interesting rides worth going to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for a summer, I'm a drummer, and I got a job playing 6 shows a week, 6 shows a day, 5 days a week. So 30 shows a week. Is that math right? I think that math is right. Literally the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, right? Like a 30-minute show. We played medleys from Motown and, you know, funk medley and pop medley, and, you know, that's just what we did. Mm-hmm. And we learned very quickly that there is a group of people who would show up every single day that we were playing, and they were super fans. Like, seriously, no joke.
Is this how you met your wife?
No. I met my wife before that. But seriously, no joke. Super fans that would show up. And the funny thing is, they did not come together. There were a group of like 6 or 7 different people that would show up to these shows every single day, every single show. And they would recognize each other and be like, hey, you're showing up to this show that I'm going to every single day. And they like became friends through it. And it was just like the craziest thing. So anyway, there was this guy who would show up every time, but he would only come because he was wheelchair bound and he would need like assistance. So his sister, who was in Minnesota for the summer, would bring him like every single day, and they would watch, you know, 6 shows a day, 5 days a week, like constant. We got to know these people, and literally 3/4 of the way through the summer, she revealed and said, like, you know, well, yeah, I've done a little bit of voice work in my life. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, what have you done? And she said, oh, I don't know. Like, maybe you've heard of this show called Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard of that. And she was like, yeah, I played like 4 or 5 different characters on that show. I like go and look her up, and like I see her bio, and it's legit. Like, it's her. And the next time I see her, I'm like, okay, I know that this is probably really annoying, but I need you to voice act for me. And she was more than thankful to do it. And she, like, whatever character she was, she did it. And it was spot on Dragon Ball Z voice acting.
I'm sorry for interrupting. What was her name?
I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look it up. Mm-hmm. It's, if we want to keep talking, I'll be looking it up and I'll get back to you. But she played a couple of different characters on both of the animes, which was. So what's that?
Why don't you look it up? And Alberto, okay. I'll ask you. Have you been catching up? Have you been keeping up with Naruto Shippuden?
Oh, that show.
Not the show. The Magna.
I haven't. Okay. No. So when it came to Naruto, since there's so many episodes, I ended up watching so many episodes. I watched the original run, which was like 200 even episodes, and then I watched most of Shippuden. And I never finished watching Shippuden, and I think it was mainly because I saw during the time, since I was basically doing catch up, I ended up seeing a lot of the spoilers of what ended up happening to some of my favorite characters. And the more I found out about my favorite characters and what ended up happening, I will easily say I lost so much motivation just because my heart hurt. And I was like, I'm watching for them. They are gone. And now I don't want to keep watching. It felt like almost like Walking Dead. That's what it kind of felt like to me.
Naruto. So I meant to say Boruto. The next
Boruto.
Boruto. I meant to say that because I said the wrong thing. That's Naruto's son. So it's the
Yes.
next generation.
So it's a spin-off.
This is a spin-off, and Naruto is finally the Hokage, and he is an adult. Sasuke is an adult. They all have kids, and they're training to be ninjas. And now we're following Boruto. And there was a major death in Boruto. Alberto,
really?
do you know what I'm talking about?
I haven't kept up with Boruto. I watched the first 3 weeks, and after that, I was like, I'm not feeling it.
All right, so this has happened in the Magna, so I don't know if it's translated to anime yet. But spoiler alert, the Nine Tails died.
What? Really? What?
The Nine Tails. So Naruto, they got in some big fight. Naruto's in a big fight, and he has a big he has this big move, and he's like, if I use this move, it's gonna kill me, but I gotta use it. Like happens in all, I gotta use this move. I gotta make the bigger sacrifice. He uses the move, but he doesn't die. The Nine Tails dies, and in this moment, he says, "Look, I used up all my chakra in this. You're now going to be by yourself. So if you try to do any of these big moves, I'll be seeing you soon. Bye, Naruto." And he dies.
I'm looking this up. Are you?
I didn't even know there was a Boruto.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I didn't know if you knew that, and I want to just get your opinion.
You just gave away a huge plot line.
Oh my god. Well, no. That's totally fine, because it turns out I would have had to have gone 55 chapters to even get to there.
Oh my god.
To get to that, but yeah.
But yeah, I gave up on Boruto a long time ago. A lot of fans kind of gave up on it just because it really didn't hit the same beats and style of the original. I don't even know if it was original writers. I think it was more of like the studio was, we should keep going. And then the original guy was like, well, I've wrapped up my story. And he's like, okay, cool. How about you just sell us your properties and we'll continue? And that's kind of what happened instead. That's why a lot of fans are like, I'm not going to watch it. But to know that happened.
Well, again, you're talking about big score. I mean, things that change, people die. Yeah. I think that's kind of a big thing, because Boruto eventually, it happens. No one's sacred. So I think that's just kind of I wanted to bring that up in the podcast. So
interesting.
Super interesting.
One other thing, if you guys don't, Andrew, did you find out who your person?
I sent it to you guys through the Facebook message. Her name is Monika, Monika Antonelli, Antonelli. If you want to pull up the
I'm playing. Give me a second. My internet is my dial-up internet.
You dial up. Like, honestly, that's like just a one in a lifetime opportunity that, like, I wasn't even like big into Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, but I knew people who was huge into it. And like, she didn't even necessarily play like a major huge character, but just like coming across somebody that you like spent a whole summer seeing them every day and getting to know them, and then like 3/4 of the way through it, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, I did voice acting on this like major Japanese anime that like has impacted Dragon Ball has impacted a huge world of anime, not just TV shows, but like video games and movies and all that. And so it was just really interesting to like meet somebody like that.
That's her, right?
Yeah,
that's her. She played. I don't know this world. I don't know this character.
I have to do more. I just looked her up to kind of have.
Yeah, she played like whatever that cat is. She played whatever that. I don't know. I don't know these characters. If somebody does know, please.
So that cat, I know the cat. I think the cat was from the original run. I think it was from Dragon Ball.
From the original Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that one was an important character because it was basically like the pet companion of the main character from the original run. That's at least what I remember. I barely watched Dragon Ball growing up, so I'm in the same boat with you.
Yeah.
She played Pure, Chiatuzo, Pudding, Cupcake, Turbo, Normaraki, and additional voices on Dragon Ball. On Dragon Ball Z, she played Chiatsu, Pure, Chiaku, and additional voices.
Anyway, if this person by any chance is watching, it was an honor to meet you. Super cool that you had the opportunity to do this in your life. And
yeah, I mean that's a huge role though.
It's still something that was like impactful in my life of like, wow, this is the crazy experience that like I'm not even into anime, but I met someone who has done work that is significant in the world of anime with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
I met Kevin Conroy and Bruce Timm.
There you go.
So do you know who that is?
Kevin Conroy. I feel like I've heard that name.
You know him. He's Batman.
Oh, duh. Oh my gosh.
I would back when the WB stores were opening and they were just promoting Batman Beyond.
Okay.
They were Bruce Timm and Kevin Conroy were at the Woodfield Schaumburg WB store, and I got one of my Batman toy figures, Batman the animated toy figure signed by Kevin Conroy, and I asked him how's he going to sound like as an old man Bruce Wayne, and he gave me that grizzled Bruce Wayne voice, and I thought that was really cool. So
was he only in the animated ones?
He's been in. So he's been the voice of all the Arkham Asylum series.
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, yes. He was the Joker.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I'm remembering Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. So there's that. And then when Alberto gets back on, we were talking about this before we started the show because we only got like 30 more minutes. And, we all got to go to bed, we got to go to bed and stuff. Have you been watching Superman and Lois?
No. And so that was one thing you wanted to really bring up.
Right.
I had just heard about it because you brought it up. That this is like the next step in the CW superhero world.
Yes. So you can watch this on the CW app or wherever you get your CW programming on your cable provider. I've been watching it on the CW app.
Sure.
Kind of like the day out because it's available the day after it broadcasts.
Is it available free?
Free.
It's free on the
CW. It's for free.
That's cool.
So, and it's in its first season. It's up to episode 5 this Tuesday. Okay. This Superman was first introduced in Supergirl, and they spun him off into his own series called Superman and Lois. So the great thing is you're not revisiting the origin story. Yeah. It takes place Superman. He's Superman. He's been Superman. He's married to Lois, and they have 2 teenage boys, and they have to deal with their boys. And one of them, and they're trying to decide, okay, is one of them having superpowers, and they're complete opposites going into high school. So it's CW. Yeah. It's all the stuff the CW loves: teenagers, family drama, superheroes. And I just like it because, one, they're not focusing on all the Arrowverse stuff. And it's focusing on Superman trying to be a balancing act between being a father and being Superman. So it's just a different take. And I'm like, oh, this is refreshing. And they're not just focusing it on Superman, but they're focusing it on Clark Kent, on Lois Lane, and his boys, who are in their own right. They're interesting themselves. So
yeah, it sounds interesting. If I was invested, which honestly I have not been, in the CW universe, It sounds like a great continuation of.
And you don't even have to be you don't even have to be invested in the CW universe.
Okay,
that's the great thing. You can just start the show off fresh because they don't mention any of the other CW stuff.
Because I have heard that like between the Flash and Arrow and what's the other one?
Batgirl.
Yeah, like they all kind of, the storyline kind of all intermingles.
Right, and what's the other one? The time travel show. I'm forgetting that one right now. Whoever's watching the time travel show on the CW that
let us know.
Let us know. I can't believe I'm forgetting this. But yes, they all eventually all intermingle in a big multi-cast event. Right. But because of COVID, they're not doing that this season.
Right.
So,
but honestly, what I have heard from most people is it has gotten way too confusing.
It is. It's become bloated, and some of a lot of the I have lost interest in the Flash, in the Arrow, and Arrow's finally over. They just kept repeating the same story beats over and over again, which is kind of like, I'm kind of done with it. And I only came back for their big multi-crossover events. So, which started great. And I felt over the years, the quality of it just kept on declining over and over again. So, but the Superman show, it's off to a great start, but I'm afraid it's going to go back to a Smallville villain of the week. There's a special kryptonite. Someone's going to get powers. They're going to have to fight the powers. Very formulatic, but I hope it really resists that and they really focus doing some inventive storytelling, which is keeping me focused.
Man, like Superman is such a hard character to like have a longevity of, because he's just, other than kryptonite, invincible.
Right.
And so like that character is just so, you know, like Spider-Man or Batman or, you know, so many other characters, like there's a level of morality to them. And like that's where like so many people have a problem with Superman. It's like he's OP compared to so many other superheroes.
And they are hinting at an injustice type storyline that he could turn bad, or there's a arch nemesis in the TV show that's from an alternate timeline or whatever that has an injustice version of Superman, and he's afraid this version is going to end up being him eventually.
That sounds interesting, yeah.
So that's one of the backstories which is happening. Alberto, have you been watching Superman and Lois, or do you know what we're talking about?
We can't hear you.
Your mic's off.
Sorry about that. I do know what it is. I have not watched it, and I haven't watched any of the CW shows. Not because I don't want to. I don't know. I just haven't really got it into them for some odd reason.
I'm there with you. It's not like I don't want to.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff out there, and again, it's great because eventually it's at our fingertips, and when we want to watch it, we'll watch it. Right. It's great. You know, you want to subscribe to a service, subscribe it for a month, stop the subscription, then start it up when you want to watch something different.
Yeah.
And I think HBO Max is has something smart because all their newer stuff is only on for a limited time. So you have to keep that subscription going to see the next stuff. You can't just like, I'm just going to wait 9 months and it's all going to be there, because Wonder Woman 2 is already gone. Mm-hmm. Tom and Jerry, if you're not watching it by the end of the month, it's gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
I don't. Go ahead.
No, you go first, and then I'll go.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that which still I fall for the chapter sometimes. I remember getting HBO Max primarily 100% of a reason. I wanted to finish watching the last 2.5 seasons of The Sopranos. They took it off of Hulu, and I wanted to watch it. My sister and my dad, we were all watching it. And then before you know it, it's March 21st, and I still have it. And I got it like last year when it first came out, and I've been falling in love with that with that app. And I probably visit that one the most, aside from like Funimation, and Netflix is slowly just falling down.
I feel like HBO Max is kind of becoming the new thing.
Yeah, and I mean, like for example, like Tenet is going to come out on HBO Max, I think in May. So I'm like looking forward to that because I finally get to see that now, like at home.
And all of the new DC movies, day one, are coming out on HBO Max.
And all the DC animation movies are out there. Batman, and even the Batman, the Justice Leagues, it's all there.
Yeah.
I just watched not for all seasons. Forgetting the other one. I just watched well, anyway, if I can't remember it, I shouldn't be talking about it. But I just watched one of the Superman animations, and it started off well, and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't buy it, or I'm glad I'm but
just watched
it. I got to watch it. So
yeah. Okay, so we got 15 minutes left. If there's any people watching, give some insight into what they think would be good to watch or listen to or play
or read
while we got 15 minutes left, and maybe we can talk about it. I did want to bring up what I have been listening to in the past 2 days.
Okay.
Which is so funny because this guy has been around for so long, but he kind of blew up recently because of Bruno Mars. Have you guys heard of Silk Sonic?
Name sounds familiar. I am not cool. I'll be honest with you.
Are you telling me you have just started listening to the wonderful, multi-talented, charismatic, amazing artist Anderson right now?
Anderson Paak, dude.
Oh my god.
So Andrew. Here's the thing. Like, I hadn't known about him because I've watched a couple documentaries, and I watched Rhythm and Flow, and he was in Rhythm and Flow. And like I had like seen him here and there, but like holy crap, guys. I know I'm like 4 or 5 years behind this because his last album called Malibu came out in, I think, 2016. Go listen to Anderson Paak. Paak.
Yes. Hell yes, Andrew.
Advisory. It is very parent advisory. There is a lot of language in the album, but it is amazing. Like I don't know if on the album he does this, but when he plays live, like if you don't want to listen to his whole album, go and watch the Tiny Desk concert of him. Which, if you don't know what Tiny Desk is, it's from NPR. They have like a series of
I love Tiny Desk.
Yeah, they have a series of like artists that play behind a tiny desk. Anderson Paak did one. Yeah, I'm big late. That's right, Ari. Anderson Paak did a tiny desk years ago, and I just cannot believe that I'm just now getting caught onto this because it is so freaking good.
Yeah,
like seriously, it is one of the best tiny desks I've ever seen. And being a drummer is even more impressive because the guy is the lead singer of the band and he's playing behind a kit. But it's not like those two things are separate. It's like he makes it a singular thing. And it does not make sense to me because he'll be playing a beat. And if anyone knows anything about drumming, there's like a thing called playing behind the beat where like you've got the click track and you are intentionally playing like lazy. You're trying to play like after the beat.
And
it's
like almost like a flam, just borderline like a flam.
It's like a flam. It's kind of like you're drunk and you're playing the drums. Like it is a really hard thing to do. And he is playing behind the beat, but he is singing spot on to the beat. And it is just like, seriously, if you don't want to give the full time to an album, go and watch the Tiny Desk of him. I apologize to everybody who has been following this guy for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. He is so freaking good. It is incredible. Alberto, go ahead and tell us everything that I've been missing.
He is one of the most talented musicians ever. Easily a huge reason I just wanted to pick up drums, and I'm glad I ended up picking it up during my last couple of years of college. I love his drum style. I love how he sings. I think most important, something that gets overlooked a lot, not only the ability of being able to do drums and singing. I know there's other musicians that are able to do it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, his breath control. When he sings, like when I first listened, because Malibu was the first album I listened to. Then I went back and listened to Venice. Back, I don't know how many years ago. I think it was like 5, 6 years ago the album came out. But Venice came out a couple years prior to that. But anyway, though, I remember listening to it. I didn't know he was a drummer. The front cover of Malibu has him as a sitting in front of the piano. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so he must be like a keys musician or something. But I started looking into him, and the whole time I was like, his breathing control is amazing. The fact that he can do arguably the most physically demanding part of like a pop band or like an R&B neo soul band, the drums, and still breathe and do all his notes, his vibratos. He raps in it. He sings.
He's rapping. He's singing. He's doing.
I think it's so
mixture
cool.
Of both. It is.
I think it's so cool that he can do that, and that's why, like I say, that like he's so charismatic because every interview he does, it's that classic Anderson Paak, gigantic, cheesy, pearly white smile every time.
He's got a great smile,
and he has this kind of personality that like it's just he's there for an awesome, great time with you. He wants to, he wants to show you some music that he's created at home.
I fully admit that I'm way late to this.
That's totally fine. It's better to be late than to be absent.
Than to be never. Yeah.
I'm absent, unfortunately.
It's time.
This is your chance to get into it. But recently, him and Bruno Mars created a duo called Silk Sonic, and they released a single called "Leave the Door Open," which there is very little I can give to you other than this is the most baby making song out there.
Yes, sir.
Like it's like the new Marvin Gaye. Let's get it on. Like it is. It is incredible, and it is the first of what they have said is going to be like. I watched an interview from them, and they were like, "Are you going to release like a full album, or are you just going to like release a single and a single and a single and a single, and then like here's our album?" And they're like, "Oh, we're going to milk this mother as much as we can." Like their plan is to just like here's a new song, here's a new song, here's a new song, here's a new song. So go listen to Anderson Paak, but also go listen to Silk Sonic, which is Anderson Paak and Bruno Mars. They have a music video, which is a live music video of the song Keep the Door Open. But then recently, like 7 days ago at the Grammys, did a live version of it as well. And it is a like whole new rendition of it. And it like this is probably one of the most exciting things that I have been in like modern music is what they're doing, because modern music has been kind of the same thing for a really long time, and they are just taking it old school to the max. They're going back to the 60s, 70s, soul, neo funk. Just it's amazing. Go listen to it.
I'm excited for you to keep going through his discography and just really see how Anderson has evolved. Like I remember his third album. I'm gonna mispronounce it. I can't remember if it was Oxford or Oxnard, one of those two. But he definitely started to go a little bit more of like a hip hop route right there. And then his latest album is like a little bit different. His latest singles are a little different too. Like he has just ventured into so many different pockets of music, and I think it's dangerous to have such a smooth, plain musician like Anderson, and to have such a smooth singing performer like Bruno Mars, who just commands the stage at the same time.
Dangerous is the best word for
like to know that like these two powerhouses are together. There has been super groups forever. I mean, I think there's that band called isn't it the Eagles or like the oh no, the Birds. Oh my god, what was it?
Yeah,
there was like a super group.
Those are both bands, by the way.
Those are both bands. Yeah,
there's like a super group with like Paul McCartney and a bunch of
he was part of the Beatles, by the way. That's the biggest super
group. Beatles. Is that what you're talking about?
No. No, Paul McCartney.
Are you talking about Wings?
Wings. There we go. I said the Eagles. I said, what did I say? The Birds.
The Birds, which are all stuff. But you're talking about when Paul McCartney was part of Wings. Okay.
Wings. See, okay. I knew I had to do something with the air as it. But you know, there's been super groups in the past, but this is definitely a project I'm very, very excited to keep.
This is definitely a super group. This is definitely something worth paying attention to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at least like, I don't know, maybe like 1,800 married couples were probably, you know, like a wife came home with a pregnancy test the next weekend. It was like, way to go! You should have shown me Silk Sonic last weekend, Gerald.
I watched a voice instructor, a female voice instructor's like reaction video to Silk Sonic, and halfway through it, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna need birth control after watching that."
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's such a good song. And then like the choir in the background, like those high notes. I'm gonna leave the door open.
Yeah,
it's like that little whisper. Oh man,
seriously, everyone go listen to it. It is just one of the most
Silk Sonic. I'm
Sonic.
gonna leave the door open.
It's one of the most smoothest songs of the century. Like
there's another song from Malibu that immediately reminds me. I always love listening to it. It's a song called "Am I Wrong?" and he does that featuring
to it the other
Schoolboy Q
or and minutes, but
he like Anderson Paak loves to do just a lot of like those kind of like romantic neo soul styles of music always. And I mean, you always want to dance and you always want to listen to that kind of stuff. This project seems it's going to be, I don't know how much you listen to Bruno Mars, but like I remember Bruno Mars's album, Unorthodox Jukebox.
Yeah, that was like his breakout album.
That one right there had so much of that, like, I know it's been said a million times, but it has to be said again. It has so much of like that, like Michael Jackson, like pop that just, it's like this little lightning in a bottle and you get just a small taste of it. You know, it's not Michael Jackson, but this is the damn closest thing that we're probably going to get.
It's a little more, it's a little more upbeat. It's a little more, there's something about it. Oh, there it is. But we can't hear it.
Well, I don't know. Let me try it. I haven't tried it. And let me... Because, again, my dial-up might be affecting everything.
Dude, I'm talking, like, even the drum set that they chose, the, like, clothing, the studio, like, how it looks, everything just screams 70s. And it's so great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, this came out like that. The weekend this song came out was my happiest weekend. There's a local band I love called Origami Button. That's like a math rock band. They released a new song. That same day, Silk Sonic released Leave the Door Open. That same day, Chance the Rapper released a new song called The Tongue and the Heart. And it is the greatest song that he's made because his last album was straight dookie. And then it's the greatest song he's made in years. And I'm just like, what a Friday night this has been. All three of the songs are just
I feel so good about that.
When new music drops, like I know people get excited, like when a new movie drops or when a new game drops, like that stuff's really cool and all. But when a new song drops and it hits,
a song that hits you, yes, and you're like, I want to listen to this over and over and over and over again. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like video games and movies have always been like a huge part of me, but like I feel like music has like hit me in a deeper way than any of those things. And maybe it's because music is part of what makes video games so good. It's what makes movies so good. You know, because if you didn't have good music in those things, then it's just kind of like, oh, well, it was okay, you know, whatever.
I think Star Wars, some of the best things about that movie, if you didn't have a good John Williams track to that movie.
Have you seen some of the videos that have been like, the soundtrack really makes a difference, and it's like Star Wars, and it's, if I remember correctly, it's Darth Vader getting out of one of the ships, and I think it's Whitney Houston and I Will Always Love You. And like, it totally changes the entire interaction, because it's like whoever the other guy is, and he's like super nervous about seeing Darth Vader. That like
Admiral at the start of Return, and
he doesn't want to be killed by Darth Vader.
And it's that song,
but then it completely changes it, because it seems like there's some like bromance going on between the two.
I think that's another episode. We can dive into that another episode. So let's hold on to that thought for another time to talk about music and movies and the importance of all that. But I think with that being said, no one else has commented. I think maybe we should wrap it up tonight, guys.
Unless if anybody has a quick comment that they want to throw out there. We appreciate everybody, and this has been a lot of fun to hang out with you guys.
Great
but
day.
I'm definitely excited for the music convo. I mean, imagine Mario, even the first Mario, without you hearing din 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 din. And like at the very beginning,
it's like, okay, this is cool, but the music makes it
all that stuff is super important.
So that will be a future episode, but I think the next episode we definitely need to tackle with all the cavemen is the Snyder Cut. So, Andrew, you have your homework. Alberto,
I gotta watch it.
You've already watched it. Everyone else, if you haven't watched it, watch it by next week, and we will stream it and talk about our thoughts. Everyone have a great night, and see you next time.
We'll see you next week.
Have a good night.